Do you want to know what should be a crime but obviously isn't? The fact that a show like Deadmount Deathplay, I would say one of the stronger shows of this Spring 23 anime season, just dropped, I would argue, its best episode yet, episode 5. And while, yes, there are other shows airing this season that are severely more underwatched than this one, I think the fact that this one isn't topping anime charts or discussions as much as I believe it deserves, it's a real shame because this is a fascinating work from the author of Baccano no Dorara. Like, this author knows how to write compelling worlds, great character arcs, with that hilarious undertone but if not brutal atmosphere at times. And seriously, after learning why our main character, who basically is now in a dead boy's body, why that boy was originally supposed to be assassinated, they reveal why, and honestly, seriously, if you haven't started Deadmount Deathplay or maybe you're a little behind, I highly recommend catching up because it is at its absolute best, and it's not going to be slowing down anytime soon. Now, I do have a full live reaction to episode 5 available on my Patreon, so if you do want to see my full uncut thoughts, you can head on over there and consider supporting. So let's talk about this one. So we get a lot of answers that we've been hoping to see, but they also bring up some brand new questions and mysteries. And honestly, this episode blends insane action, plot revelations, and just new future plot threads all at the same time, and it was a breath of fresh air for a show that I already thought was perfect as is. So we learn why Polka, who was the boy that got assassinated in its first episode, why he had a hit on his head. So it turns out Lemmings wasn't there for Polka at all. In fact, he was actually there for Misaki, and if it wasn't for them stopping him, honestly, it seemed like she was probably going to get kidnapped for information. Though, obviously, we can see with her own saliva fork spear to the thigh, she can probably deal with a lot of things by herself. So we learn that Polka is from a pretty rich family, and when one person ends up dying, ultimately he'll end up inheriting a lot of money. So basically, once you get into a situation where, hey, you're next in line to inherit either power or money, there's probably bound to be a sibling or relative who wants you dead, and we see it from seemingly this scumbag who hired Lemmings, and also seemingly, if the foreshadowing is to be believed, which it seems pretty on the nose, but hey, I'm open to possibilities, we see this like very creepy, almost like Evil Dead mother figure over these two twins. It seems like she's completely mad but has that protective motherly instinct, and it seems like she had something done to her. She was killed for one reason or another, maybe for asking too many questions, and seemingly that same anger is now being targeted towards our corpse god. I love the fact that they already dropped some big bombshells on why. Like, I honestly thought maybe by the end of the first core, or maybe it'd be a big mystery in the second core, as this is a split core series, of course. So I was like, oh yeah, we probably won't know exactly why for a while, and they just casually drop in the information that no, Polka was a rich kid, and apparently he's an uncle to these guys. And I was like, okay, when initially the twins walk in, I was like, oh, this must be his siblings or something. Nope, turns out Unky Polka just had basically, he pissed off the wrong person just for existing because he was going to inherit a bunch of money. But man, to see like the confirmation, like I honestly thought Lemmings was probably not alive. I thought like it was some sort of weird magical walking corpse. I mean, you're literally covered in bandages, but the fact remains, I mean, based on how he was like, the corpse god was looking at him with his like magical eyes, he saw ghosts and spirits around him, so seemingly like this is a living creature. The fact remains, though, that he apparently can see through those bandages, which I thought maybe he was just sensing things around him. He apparently can talk, given the fact that he whispered in a couple different characters' ears. This character, it frightens me because we don't know exactly what he is and what he truly wants. Is it just a payday for him, or is there more than meets the eye? I really don't know. But I thought the way they blended that action with like, hey, how is our boy gonna make money? Well, he's gonna become a real fortune teller in this world, to then just casually revealing the family plotline. Like, there's just so much meat and substance here on an arguably insanely fun episode. So the action was actually pretty surprising. It lasted longer than I was initially expecting. It's this very dim scene, so basically there's hardly any light, so people can't really tell what's going on for obvious reasons. And we see our boy do so many different attacks, and the fact remains that basically, arguably, he should have let her go. He shouldn't expose himself. It'll ruin everything. And what does he do? He immediately tries to save Misaki, which makes sense. I mean, we get a little tease on who his teacher is, who I used in the thumbnail. Immediately when I saw that, I was like, yep, you know what? Who wouldn't want to learn under this woman? She seems like she knows what she's talking about. And it's not because of chess-oriented reasons. No, I'm completely talking about her personality, of course. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But she does seem to actually care about, like, teaching the right things. Like, talking about, hey, you know, if you want to protect someone, don't worry about the consequences, or don't worry about like how long things will last. Like, just do what you basically believe, seemingly, which does explain why he's so connected to helping like children and those younger, because not only do many people like these siblings remind him of people who used to act tough in his life but obviously didn't make it, the fact remains, like, children and those less fortunate, like, he just wants to help, seemingly. And I love the fact that that is kind of like the motivation to help Misaki, because he truly does care for characters like Takumi or her, because these are his genuine friends. And the fact that they had this really cool animation at one point, Lemmings is running up it's like a giant skeleton titan that's just coming crashing down in the bar, and he's running up the arm and everything. It was just really cool. And honestly, the fact that they use the previously established kind of saliva that is kind of like this, it'll paralyze you, tries to bite through the hand, I was like, oh, this is going to confirm that it's like an undead corpse or something. No, the only reason it didn't work is because there's bandages and she couldn't bite through. Lucky for her, she had a fork that she was playing around in her mouth with and stabbed him in the thighs, which I just like the idea that they're bringing up these really cool mechanics or these points, and within an episode or two, they use that same point to show that things aren't just being brought up for random reasons, they'll all have an importance one way or another. It was really cool though, because, you know, the whole idea that Corpse God's original world, a lot of what is fantasy or fiction for him is reality in this normal Japan environment and vice versa. So the idea of basically, we have fortune tellers, we have healing crystals, we have all these things that, you know, certain groups think are magical or are to be believed, where majorities think it is just a whole load of baloney. And what he ends up doing is kind of turning something that is usually seen as BS into something that can actually work. A mixture of Takumi investigating information, him seeing ghosts that might be with the person getting their fortune read, and all these little moments of turning something that they would be skeptical into something that would then promote his business, and we see it works quite well. And I like the fact that they're having fun with mechanics that we know are in our own world, but then can be turned into something real and genuine when you do have a corpse god who can speak to spirits, right? When it came to the siblings, I was expecting a lot more hostile attitudes. Honestly, initially for me, I don't know if I'm the only one feeling it, but anyone who's watching I Got a Cheat Skill in Another World, which is also another show that airs on Mondays, the two siblings that basically our main character in that show had to deal with, that was the energy initially when they walked in that I was getting from these two. Luckily, they seemingly, yes, were spoiled, pampered brats, but they didn't seem like they were horrible people other than just maybe being entitled. And the fact that, you know, I love this. It was 2 episodes back, give or take, when he was crouching on the ground and he was talking to the young spirits when basically Misaki was pretty much getting betrayed in order to do a job. I love how when he's holding the twins, basically saying, I'll protect them, he's looking at this demonic monster. That shit was pulled right out of Evil Dead or something. Like, just the eyes and then the fingers, it was horrifying. And then casually dropping it's not actually, you know, it's a little mentally unstable, but not a bad ghost. And I'm like, sure, whatever you say, buddy. Just a lot of great moments in this episode. And we are now 5 episodes into Dead Mount Deathplay, and it's not slowing down. It's answering things at the appropriate pace while also bringing up new mysteries all at the same time. But let me know what you thought of this wonderful episode down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, ring that bell, of course, so you can get notified when I upload on the channel. And like I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction available on my Patreon if you're interested. And while you're there, you can also get a video shout-out. So today, we have Alton Johnson, Alunnar, and Calvin Atkinson. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.